Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian Farmer, Strike Trade Group, and this is your end of day recap for Monday, October 30th. Another strong Monday bounce. We will go over that as well as some of the other market action for today. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only. Please read the full risk disclaimer right there. So, yeah, let me start with that. There's been this, major difference on Mondays. And then on Tuesday, of course, too. But I think that there's only been over the last, we'll just call it the last 3 months, because we are coming up we've got one more day of October, and then we've got 2 more months left. But if you go back the last 3 months, I believe that SPY, we'll just stick with SPY. You can use Qs. I don't know if Qs have been down at all on any Monday over the last 3 months. I remember Zero Hedge tweeted that out last week, but I think SPY's been down just 3 times over the last 3 months. So Mondays have been super strong, and that lived up to the hype today. With SPY was up 1.2%, Q's up 1.1%. Dow stocks really had a nice day today, up 1.6%, and the small caps underperformed again as usual. They did finish up on the day, so that's nice. Up 60 basis points. Microcaps actually did pretty good today. They were up 1.1%. But yeah, that's been the story for the last 3 months. It's just this crazy Monday move. A lot of it is because we go into Fridays, and Fridays, I haven't measured the amount of days there's been a green Friday, but certainly like the afternoon Fridays have been pretty nasty, and Friday included. It was one of the things that we talked about in the trading room earlier on in the day. I was leaving a bit early for the weekend, and I just, I encourage some people to do the same. I said, I don't think that you're going to get very good price action from Friday, and sure enough, it was very choppy, and it kind of sold off after the open, and that's just what we've been dealing with all the news headlines, and folks just don't want to carry a lot of risk over the weekend. So what happens on Monday when the world doesn't end? The market kind of snaps back a little bit, and that's been going on now for months. Now let's talk about tomorrow, which is Tuesday. So this has been kind of the trap, is that sometimes you get these strong Mondays, and then on Tuesday, you get absolutely no follow through. Now last week, Tuesday was up, but I think that only made again, sorry for not having the exact numbers, but I think it's only been 3 or 4 Tuesdays that have been up over the last 3 months. So there's been such a big difference between the days and the pattern of what we're seeing in terms of the price action. So it's good to have these things in the back of your mind until the pattern breaks. This will eventually break. Usually these types of patterns where Monday is strong or weak for years, Mondays would be weaker, and then you would have what would be the turnaround Tuesday. So it's just kind of an interesting phenomenon that's going on right now. Let's go into the price action. But yeah, Dow outperformed. The VIX was down 7% today. Bitcoin was up 2.5%. Gold took a little bit of a breather. Again, it's kind of the same thing, like gold rising on Friday with like fear of what's going on globally and in the Middle East. That gold seems to be that type of a trade right now. Bitcoin, I'm not really sure what is driving Bitcoin. I think it's partly that, because we did see that kind of move with some Middle East headlines, and then it's also moving on the possibility of an ETF getting approved too. So you got that going for it. And if you're looking for Bitcoin levels, I figured I would just start with something different. Notice how it's traded inside value to start the week. By the way, we're on the 1-hour chart, and any of the indicators that I use, if you're not familiar with them, right? Because I talk a lot about volume at price and VPOCs, virgin point of controls. 80% rule, all of that stuff. You could go to my pinned tweet on Twitter, or there's a link right in this video description where you can get information about the value areas and how they work, and why I think the support and resistance levels are so good. But you could see right here, like Bitcoin is trading inside right now the week. So I would watch 35,160 to the upside, and I would also watch 33,815. And we are trading above value. Where I think Bitcoin gets to It's putting in some healthy consolidation here. I think that's perfectly normal, but I would watch the next area of resistance too, on the weekly chart. Again, weekly is showing more significance because this is the value area for the whole year based on all of last year's activity, and that's 36,505 is the upside level to watch. All right, let's talk about the S&P. Well, first of all, we'll do S&P futures, but you could use either one, S&P futures or SPY. But we did break into the value area. I would be interested to see if at the end of this week or next week. I know that there's, I think everybody knows at this point, because you've been hearing it all over Twitter, is that yes, November, it was supposed to be October was supposed to be a stronger seasonal month. It wasn't, especially the second half of the month. But November is actually, I believe, supposed to be stronger in terms of seasonality. So, you have to be kind of open and objective to all outcomes here. Even though I think we need to regain this 42.57, because right now it is what it is. Regardless of seasonality, we have dropped inside the value area for the year, and that's not a positive thing, right? We were trending, in price discovery for the year, and we are no longer doing that. Now, let's take a little bit of a closer look. And here there's a VPOC lower here, but SPY did take one out. So we can look at this. And notice what I like as like the first step. Anything could bounce one day, right? And that's why I don't get too excited about one day of a green move, or the same thing on the downside. I don't get much, because it's just not a trend, right? There's a lot of people who are talking about how the breadth was better on Thursday, and small caps actually, that's because small caps actually outperformed on Thursday, but that wasn't a trend either. That was just one day of a little bit of outperformance in the small cap. So what I would be looking for is for price to get over the 5-period moving average from a technical standpoint, right? We didn't get there. So yes, this version point of control being taken out, a good thing, because we're stabilizing around here, right? Which is exactly what you want to see around a version point of control takeout. By the way, this is nice and easy to use. You don't have to, another concept of volume at price is anchored VWAP, right? You could use that, but you have to figure out where you're going to anchor things, right? You don't have to do that with the value areas, because it goes off of previous volume and the lines are drawn for you, right? So we're hovering right around there. And what I would want to see is price for follow through to get back above the 5-period moving average. Also on the 1-hour chart, we are inside value, so I can give you a support level to watch here. That's 412.37, or if you use S&P futures, you have a little bit less bumper room. So the 80% rule is in effect here, right? We also took out one of these virgin point of controls, which nice reversal off of this, but we have to maintain 41.80 here in S&P futures. So that's not a lot of room for error. Notice there was a little bit of weakness there at the end of the day, so we'll see if we can hang on to that. All right, so that's what the S&P looks like. The Qs, same thing here, basically closed right at the top of value, or not at the top, basically did not take back the 5-period moving average. Again, these are important because it just gives you a sense of the trend, right? The short-term trend. They're very nice, in my opinion, to use the short-term moving averages, because they do tell you if the short-term trend is changing. And again, I try to, just like with the value areas and the moving averages, it helps take emotion, right? I see so many people right now on Twitter that are like, they're looking for any positive to say like, aha, we're turning around and so forth. And, I see this, or, it's the VIX went down, or, I think just is the more that you could separate your opinion and what you predetermine, what you want to happen, is going to help you here. And I mentioned in the weekend video that I would like to see price at least get back above the 5-period moving average. That would tell me that the short-term trend is changing. We don't have a lot to look at there on the 1-hour chart. That's the weekly, by the way, which we saw this failure last week, breaking of that pattern. But we're right smack in the middle of the value area. And you could do this too. You can kind of zoom out right? This had some attempts last week and then spilled lower. So, that's been another thing to watch, is this market hangs in there in the beginning of the week. That's happened the last couple weeks, right? A couple weeks ago, we did this. We kind of rallied in the beginning of the week and then really spilled lower. Same thing so that was 2 weeks ago. Last week, same thing. We got going a little bit and we just couldn't turn the corner. Sellers maintain their control, and here we are now. All right, IWM. Notice that IWM, so we'll start with the daily chart. There's nothing to really like about this. Again, kind of coming into that 5-period moving average, but price could not get above that either, right? So a little bit of a test there, couldn't do it. And this VPOC still remains there at 161.10. Also, take a look at the daily chart, the 1-hour chart. Wow, I'm sorry, I'm saying things backwards. In this video, in the 1-hour chart, that's a different picture than the S&P and the Qs. Those two indices are inside value for the week. Look at IWM get rejected twice, right where it needs to turn, at least turn the beginning of a corner. And that's at 163.78. So this happened right around the 9 o'clock hour and around right towards the end of the day too, right? So 2 rejections there for IWM. I just wanted to bring up the Qs as well, just to kind of talk a little bit about the price action for the day. But interesting, right? We got back to the highs of the day. This has been kind of tough, I think. I don't think that these days are completely straightforward, because we got off to such a nice start. And then just sellers come in and just whack this market down. And, that whole move that happened in the first 20 minutes, it's not, I would say that this is just continues to be odd market action. Normally, when you have a nice trending day, what happens is this, you can get off to a good start and then you kind of hold in here. And I bought a little bit of Qs in here because that's normally how price action works, is a nice move, a little bit of digestion, maybe a little bit of taking profits, but you don't normally see us take out, and go below the open like that. So now this was constructive because we did hold in there, and I bought a little bit more in here, and I was able to make the trade work for the Qs that I had on, because I know at this point that there are so many of these false moves that you cannot go into a day trade or a swing trade. You can't go in with full position size because the market's just too whippy. And where things are logically supposed to hang in there, they don't. Now, again, we did hold the top of value, which was good. But again, it's not exactly a smooth ride. Let's talk about what really worked today. I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet, right? So the transports had a real nice day. I mean, the transports, if you've been noticing what's been going on with both you could, look at IYT and SMH, because some people like to use these as, they think about them as leading indicators. But again, really nice bounce, big oversold bounce. I mean, this was a big move down from about 266 all the way down to about 210. Fast move to the downside, but this was an oversold bounce. This got pretty oversold, and you did get a bounce there today, up 2.5%. XPO was the name that helped today, which it's kind of been one of the better names in this group. I mean, look at how much better this name has been reacting. But this name was up 15% today. So, another name that will go on our earnings gap list that we've been putting together. Nice move there, up 15%. Another group that was strong today was telecom, up 2%. Consumer staples had a bounce back today too, right? So you can see these. I have this always sorted by the biggest percentage from the open to tell you where the buying occurred over the session. So communications, this was a big disappointment last week. Google and Meta make up a good portion of this. It was one of the strongest areas up until about a week and a half ago, but fell apart here. So you got a nice bounce here. Notice again the same thing. Price the price was very deep below the 5-period moving average. So this nice 2% rally doesn't get you anywhere, right? And those two names are good to look at. But Meta, same thing. Meta, did not get back above its value area, right? Now, again, it's recovered nicely, and maybe you caught a trade here off of this version point of control. But again, you're just not seeing very many strong moves. Google got a bounce today. It's been 3 days since it's had earnings. So, a lot of, I refer to it as the 3-day earnings rule. When a name does not have a good reaction to earnings, sometimes it takes 3 days before you can kind of get a material bounce, just as everybody kind of gets washed out in the name. Nice version point of control takeout. And I did get long some of this today, and I'll use that version point of control as my stop. The weekly, I would really like to see this get back above 125.95 by the end of the week, which can certainly happen. We have 4 days and a lot of events this week. Let me talk about that for just a second. Speaking of all the events this week, I know a lot of people are talking about that. We've got, I think the main event for this week is going to be the Fed decision, right? I sent this out on Friday that there's really no chance. And again, like, this isn't supposed to be a contrarian thing. Some people say, oh, there's no chance. I'm going to play for a possible chance of a rate hike. No, but Fed fund futures are not, I don't think that's the way that you want to look at it. There's really not there's not a big chance at all. And I think basically none that the Fed is going to raise interest rates on Wednesday. What is really going to be interesting is what they think about the future path of rates. Now, you could see in this chart over here that the market is pricing in these cuts going out to next year and the year after that, right? So really like the back end of next year. But every time that this has happened, where Fed fund futures have leaned that way, Powell walks that back and the market adjusts a little bit to that. So bear that in mind. I think that's something similar that's going to happen. We just got more inflation data that was from Friday. I think Germany had their CPI report, which came in flat, but we had the PCE deflator last week, and this did not come in for probably what the Fed wants to see, right? I mean, I'm just kind of thinking about what they're thinking about. I know that's kind of odd to say, but so if you look at this, there we go, right? The PCE deflator from Friday, this came in hot, right? So 0.3 versus 0.4 versus 0.3. So there, in my opinion, right? So I'm just covering this now because I know it's going to get talked about a lot. I don't think they're going to say anything new. They're not going to say anything promising. They're not going to say, in my opinion, they're not going to say that they're done raising interest rates because inflation's not going down in terms of some of the things that they're looking at. Now, they may bring out some other metrics, but I know that the PCE deflator, because I've heard them say it many times, is their preferred measure of inflation. So it'll be interesting. I'll be listening. Do I expect anything coming out of this meeting? No. And then, of course, later in the week, we've got the ISM numbers, JOLTS jobs opening, but this happens right before the Fed, before Powell speaks. And then we got on Friday a new jobs payroll. The other thing that I heard, which is kind of interesting, which I did not know until this morning, is that people are expecting, and this makes sense to me, that they might more concerned with on Wednesday instead of the Fed meeting, the U.S. Treasury Department's quarterly refunding announcement is likely. That could move the markets. TLT had a decent day today. It went lower. Again, this is not taking back any trend or anything like that, but it's trying to stabilize a little bit, right? Now, we don't know if this is a just a consolidation before the next move lower. So far, we're holding on to it. We did, speaking of one of those virgin point of controls, we had a nice snapback after taking this back. But again, this isn't doing anything great, right? And in fact, TLT was down about 0.5%. What am I looking for here? Just for a little bit of stable, I've been using that word a lot for bonds, just a little bit of stabilization, right? Smaller moves, not these big down 1.5%, 2% moves, down 0.5%. The market can kind of adjust to that a little bit. But these bigger moves is what's causing some volatility in the equity market. Speaking of volatility, I'll just show you this chart. We'll talk about a couple quick names here. But the VIX did fall today, about 7%. right? So still about 1975, and really it needs to kind of start to break lower here. Again, one day is not a trend, so down 7%. I think that's the normal move that happens on on Monday, when people realize that the world didn't end over the weekend. A couple names that I thought were interesting for the day. So I mentioned, where's my spreadsheet for? I thought that this was a big FANG day. Amazon was up 2.7% today. Excuse me, I got the wrong thing. It was up 3.9%. Netflix had a really nice day today. We can go over a couple of these charts really quickly. Right. And again, it's a lot of times it's what happens. So when a name reports good earnings. So take, for example, this Amazon retook to the 50-day moving average. So that's a great level to watch, right now. Right. So again, talking about whether you're going to be right or whether you're going to be wrong with going long Amazon, where you could put your stop right at the 50-day moving average, or if you want a little bit more tolerance, as I would use this bottom of value, 130.80. Right. And we'll see if it can kind of hold on to that and continue to get above its 50-day moving average. Right. Keep it simple. Right. It's a nice, simple way to look at it. Netflix continues to act better since they had this gap up on earnings. Right. Little dips are being bought. That's a good way to think about names that report good quarters. Right. They usually act a bit better, and dips get bought. Right. Another couple names that I'm watching here, and then we will end the beginning of the week video here. But ServiceNow, right? This had a great quarter. I would watch for continuation in this name, right? Just above that 50-day moving average, right? You could set your stop there to 565. Adobe had a nice day today, right? Really got beat up a bit last week with a lot of stocks, got back into value, did not get above its 50-day moving average, but still, I think it's interesting. And I thought Spotify was interesting today too, getting back above its value. Or what I would watch for Spotify is this resistance there at 167, because it is in value for the week. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. Again, be patient with this market. One day is not a trend, and we'll see what tomorrow brings, if we can break that trend of having really weak Tuesdays. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.